Mortal Kombat sequel is getting closer, and fan hype is heating up fast. The premiere itself isn't far off now, and every month we're getting more and more updates. Producer Todd Garner recently teased that the first trailer is already finished, and according to multiple sources, Warner Brothers is planning to drop it in early July. So yeah, we won't be waiting much longer. Expectations for this one are definitely higher than for the first movie. While the reboot had its fans, it also left a lot of people disappointed, mainly because of the story and how it handled certain characters. That's probably why the team behind the sequel seems to be going all in this time around, aiming for something way more ambitious. They have been steadily revealing new details, and one of the most exciting parts is the expanded roster of characters. Screenwriter Jeremy Slater said straight up that he was inspired by how the original games always introduced more fighters with each installment. That same idea shaped the script, not just throwing in new faces, but actually building out the world and deepening the mythology. According to Slater, every new character is written with care. They're not just there to tick boxes, each one has a real arc and a purpose in the story. He even mentioned they had enough material to make a 4-hour movie, but in the end they kept it tight at around 2 hours. That suggests a more focused script and stronger storytelling across the board. One of the first new characters officially confirmed is Princess Kitana, played by Adeline Rudolph. Her inclusion opens the door to much bigger storylines tied to Outworld, which means we're getting not just bigger fight scenes, but deeper political and mythological conflicts too. And Kitana's role goes way beyond just fan service. In fact, she's one of the key characters in the sequel. Alongside Rudolph, sequel will also introduce a younger version of Kitana, played by Sophia Zui. That confirms we're getting flashbacks, likely showing Kitana's tragic past and the events that shaped who she is. In terms of character type, her arc sounds similar to MCU's Gamora, a girl warrior with a dark past, manipulated and raised by a tyrant who destroyed everything she once loved. In Kitana's case, that tyrant is Shao Kahn, and the world she lost is Kingdom Edenia. Sequel will give us our first real look at Edenia, and like in the games, Kitana is its rightful heir, but her destiny gets hijacked when Shao invades and takes over, raising her as his own daughter. As the story unfolds, Kitana starts to uncover the truth about who she really is. Her emotional journey becomes a key part of the movie's core. Step by step, she realizes the Titan who raised her is actually her real enemy. Eventually, she breaks away from him completely and joins Raiden's team. Through Kitana's storyline, the sequel doesn't just add a new character, it kicks off a full-blown Edenian arc with its own politics, history, and heartbreak. The flashbacks from her childhood will show the occupation of Edenia through a child's eyes, letting the audience feel her trauma firsthand and see just how brutal Shao Kahn's regime really was. This plotline does two big things. First, it gives Kitana an emotional origin. Second, it introduces Emperor Shao as a real threat. Not just some boss-level villain, but a ruthless conqueror with massive military strength. It basically sets the stage for an even bigger conflict that'll probably explode in a third movie. Also, it looks like Kitana and Liu Kang might develop a deeper connection, maybe even romantic, just like in the classic lore. That would add another layer to her arc and give her more personal stakes in the fight. Next up is another big addition to the cast. Queen Sindel, played by Anna Thune Nguyen. She's Kitana's mother, and in Mortal Kombat lore, she is a key figure. Depending on the version, she's either a tragic victim or a dark queen. So far, authors are staying tight-lipped about how they're approaching Sindel, whether she'll stick to her classic evil queen persona, siding with Outworld and Shao Kahn, or take on the more complex tragic version we've seen in the last games. In those newer takes, Sindel is portrayed as a conflicted and more human character, driven by loss rather than pure malice. What we do know is that her role will be significant, and alongside her, we'll also meet King Jerrod, Sindel's husband and Kitana's father, played by Desmond Chiam. Jerrod's screen time will probably be limited to a few scenes, most likely flashbacks featuring young Kitana. Fans of the lore already know how his story goes. Jerrod dies before the events of the main plot, and his death sets off the tragic fall of Edenia and opens the door for Shao Kahn's rise to power. These flashbacks will probably come midway through the movie, possibly when Kitana has already switched sides and starts revealing the truth about her past and Shao's real identity to Liu Kang. But the setup could be similar to how they handled Scorpion's story in the first movie, introduced early through flashbacks and then brought full circle for a dramatic payoff later on. Either way, it's clear the Edenian arc is going to be one of the central storylines in the sequel. It won't just give Kitana a richer origin, it'll lay the groundwork for a much bigger conflict between Outworld and Earthrealm down the line. Now let's talk about the main villain, the one everyone's been waiting for, Martin Ford's Shao Kahn. He could very well be the main antagonist for the next entire trilogy. His presence alone brings weight, mythology, and an overwhelming sense of danger. In the first movie, Shang Tsung was the lead villain, but this time it looks like he's stepping aside so Shao can take the spotlight. And this guy isn't just another boss-level threat, he's the embodiment of brutal tyrannical power. True to the original lore, Shao believes in survival of the fittest. To him, the weak don't deserve to exist. He's not just evil for the sake of it, he's a walking symbol of authoritarian cruelty. Though there's a chance the writers will give him some depth too, maybe through flashbacks or deeper dialogue that explore what shaped him into this monster. Martin Ford is a perfect fit for the role. He's been sharing gym pics and behind-the-scenes glimpses, and we've even gotten our first look at Shao Kahn's iconic Wrath Hammer. What we don't know yet is just how big a role he'll play in the actual movie. Will he be a constant presence throughout, actively driving the conflict? Or will he show up mainly in key scenes, looming over the story like a puppet master until making his move in the final act? That really depends on how the script is structured. He could be in the thick of it from the start, or they might save his big entrance for the climax as the ultimate threat behind everything. Either way, his arrival signals one thing: the stakes are about to get a a whole lot bigger. According to early rumors, one of the possible endings for Mortal Kombat 2 is Shao Kahn winning. Allegedly, director Simon McQuoid originally considered a darker version of the sequel where Earthrealmers lose the battle and are left defeated. Threequel would then follow their comeback, a kind of endgame for the MK saga. But as of now, that version hasn't been officially confirmed. But overall, Mortal Kombat 2 will finally focus on the actual tournament, which was pretty much missing from the first movie. This time around, we might get to see the tournament in all its glory. Then the sequel's ending could feature Shao Kahn breaking the rules and launching a full-scale invasion of Earth, turning the finale into an explosive cliffhanger that sets the stage for a third part. It would be nice if the sequel still worked as a standalone story with a clear arc and satisfying conclusion. After all, we still don't know how well it will do at the box office, or if a third movie will even get made, so ideally it shouldn't just feel like a setup for the next installment, but either way, Shao Kahn is officially in play, and it was only a matter of time. Now let's move on to another major new character in the sequel, Johnny Cage. Played by Karl Urban, Cage is expected to be one of the key figures, even replacing Cole Young as the primary protagonist. According to what we've heard, the movie kicks off with Cole heading to Hollywood to recruit Johnny for the upcoming tournament. That's where Johnny's arc begins. His role will stay true to the original games. At first, he's completely unaware of his destiny, the tournament, or the significance of the Dragon Mark, but just like the others, Johnny will eventually unlock his Arcana, his hidden power. Based on leaks, his Arcana will enhance his agility and strength, possibly giving us a cinematic version of his classic shadow attacks. And yes, fans are hoping we'll get the iconic Nut Punch and maybe the Fireballs. Johnny's personality will also stay faithful to the canon. He's still the cocky, egotistical action star with a flair for the dramatic. Naturally, when Cole approaches him with stories about ancient realms and gods, Johnny laughs it off, but things take a turn when, according to rumors, Baraka shows up and attacks them in Hollywood. Baraka will be played by CJ Bloomfield, and from what insiders are saying, his look will be straight out of the games. Authors aren't trying to ground or realistically reimagine the Tarkatans. Baraka will be a full-on monstrous mutant with blades for arms and a terrifying design that mirrors the classic visual style. That said, don't expect Baraka to have a huge narrative arc. Like Reptile or Natara in the first part, he'll likely appear in a couple of scenes purely to show just how real and how dangerous this tournament is. His ambush will be the wake-up call Johnny needs to realize that Cole isn't making any of this up. As for Karl Urban's casting, there's been some mixed reactions. Fans of The Boys know him as the gritty, no-nonsense Billy Butcher, and that's a far cry from Johnny's flamboyant, over-the-top energy. And sure, Urban isn't exactly the Hollywood pretty boy type, but at the same time, Mortal Kombat is another R-rated, brutal franchise. If Urban can tap into Johnny's charm and arrogance, the rest can fall into place. Ultimately, Johnny could become the de facto face of the sequel, and that honestly makes sense. He's one of the most beloved and iconic characters in Mortal Kombat original lore. Now let's talk about Quan Chi, played by Damon Herriman, easily one of the most intriguing new faces in Mortal Kombat 2. Quan Chi isn't just some dark sorcerer. He's the puppet master behind some of the biggest events in the entire MK universe. He's the reason Scorpion's family was killed. He's the one who resurrected dead fighters as revenants. He's the one who freed God Shinnok and pulled strings behind the scenes, manipulating both heroes and villains for his own gain. So yeah, just having Quan Chi in the second movie tells us we're in for some serious story developments. And here's the thing, Mortal Kombat 2 is already teasing the return of several dead characters. For example, Kung Lao is confirmed to appear again as a revenant. Actor Max Huang has been retweeting posts about revenants, which fans are reading as a subtle confirmation. There are also strong rumors floating around that Kano and even Reptile might come back. That pretty much screams necromancy. And in the Mortal Kombat world, necromancy means Quan Chi. Now the big question is, what's Quan Chi's actual role in the story? Will he be a main villain with his own agenda? Or will he just be Shao Kahn's underling playing backup? In the games, Quan Chi is always more than just a servant. He's the type who plays the long game, pulling strings and making power moves from the shadows. Hopefully the film leans into that, especially since he's directly connected to the most iconic rivalry, Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. And that brings us to the next confirmed character, one that carries some serious weight in Mortal Kombat history, Noob Saibot. If you know the lore, you already understand how big of a deal this is. This isn't just a ninja with shadow clone, this is Bi-Han, the first Sub-Zero brought back from the dead. Here's how it all went down. Quan Chi tricked Scorpion into believing that Bi-Han killed his family and clan. Fueled by rage, Scorpion kills Bi-Han in revenge, but death wasn't the end for Sub-Zero. Behind the scenes, Quan Chi was already playing the long game. He resurrected Bi-Han as a wraith, stripping away his humanity and turning him into something darker. Thus, Noob Saibot was born, a literal shadow of his former self. And now, in Mortal Kombat 2, we're finally getting the next chapter in that storyline. From what we've heard through leaks and fan buzz, Noob won't be the central villain, but he's definitely going to play a key role. Think of him as a looming presence, a dark echo that haunts the narrative and sets the stage for something much bigger down the line. Whether it's a full-blown fight with Scorpion or just a few ominous scenes teasing the rivalry, we are dying to see this on screen. Noob is one of the most fan-favorite characters in the MK roster. And if done right, he could steal the show with just a few minutes of screen time. And he's coming back with a vengeance. From what's been leaked, Noob will rock a blacked out version of Sub-Zero suit from the first movie, with minimal changes. It's also been confirmed that Noob won't be the big villain, but more of a lurking threat, likely setting up something bigger. Which makes sense, because Scorpion isn't front and center either. In fact, according to Ed Boon, Scorpion will be fighting from the shadows this time. He's not hanging out with Raiden's team in the tournament, he's on his own goal, And you can bet that mission is to stop Noob and Quan Chi. That means we're heading toward a quiet, brutal war in the background, one that's personal, emotional, and completely outside the main tournament storyline. Even if it's just a few scenes, a Scorpion vs Noob Saibot could end up being one of the most hype, emotional, and visually badass parts of the whole movie. Now here's where it gets interesting. Some fans believe that a new Sub-Zero is already cast, and we just don't know it yet. During filming, actor Andrew Koji posted several photos with Joe Taslim, who plays Bihan. They even captioned the photos with things like brothers for life, and the fan base immediately started speculating, could Andrew be playing Kuai Liang, the younger brother of Bihan? It actually makes a lot of sense. If Noob is resurrected, it's only natural that Kuai Liang would step in to pick up his brother's legacy and try to stop this madness. A possible post-credits scene could easily tease this new version of Sub-Zero, setting up his full appearance in Mortal Kombat 3. He could become the new Grandmaster of the Lin Kuei, calm, controlled, and ready to end the war with Shirai Ryu. That's literally the direction the games took, and if the movies follow suit, we could even see a future where Sub-Zero and Scorpion fight side by side against a bigger threat, like Outworld's invasion in a threequel. And yeah, this is just theory territory for now, but man, it writes itself. One more new character confirmed for MK2 is Jade, played by Tati Gabrielle, and her role ties directly into the Edenian arc, which is going to be a major subplot in the movie. Just like in the games, Jade is expected to be Kitana's sister-like ally, loyal to Edenia, but living under Shao Kahn's shadow. She might start off on his side, but will likely switch when the time comes. Think of her like Nebula from MCU. Interestingly, a lot of minor cast listings for the sequel are marked as Edenian warriors and royal family members, and fans are speculating that Rain might appear too. That would make sense if they really go deep into bigger lore. Again, no official confirmation, but the pieces are lining up. At the end of the day, Mortal Kombat 2 is shaping up to be bigger, darker, and way more character heavy. From Johnny Cage and Baraka to Noob, Quan Chi, and possibly second Sub-Zero, we're diving deep into the mythos. And with the first trailer just around the corner, we're hoping to get at least a glimpse of these new characters.